Hey there, Tom here from the Run Testers. I am doing a race test today. I'm in a village called Heckington in Lincolnshire, where there's a new race which is called the Heckington Sail Saunter, I think. Might be wrong, you'll get the name from the video. Today I'm doing something slightly different because I'm still having some calf problems, so I'm not going to wear any of my carbon plate shoes. I've actually decided to test out the Brooks Glycerin 20, mainly because I want to see, one, how it feels when I'm running at a faster pace than I do my training runs, but also I wanted something that keeps me at a steady pace, so I don't get too excited and start running off too fast and cause problems further down the line. So I'm going to test the Glycerin 20 out now at the race, and I'll report back in a bit. Okay, so I'm back from the Heckington Sail Saunter Race, an 11.2 mile race in the countryside where I come from, and I really enjoyed it. I think it was a really good race. I've mentioned on previous videos before that I'm a big fan of local races. I really like races that are planned and organised by running clubs. I just think there's a really nice community vibe to them. Everyone seems really excited about being involved. You don't have a massive start where you've got to get there early and pick up all of your race kit and stuff like that. You can just get there, grab it and go. So I'm a big fan of those races just because they just really nice and easy and enjoyable and warming to be part of. So the race was, as I said, 11.2 miles. Strange distance. I'm not quite sure why they chose that distance. And it was around the country lanes and roads around the village, and it was perfectly enjoyable. Not the most exciting race in the world, but if you're going to do a local race around a village, you're probably not going to be expecting big crowds and famous landmarks. But it was a really nice day for it. There was a bit of cloud, plenty of sun. I did get a bit burnt actually, but yeah, I really enjoyed it. I think it was a well-planned race. Looking forward to the next one if they do it again next year. What I would say is I'd probably make it an 8-mile race. In Heckington there is a very famous windmill, an 8-sailed windmill, not many of those in the world, hence why it's called the 8-sailed Saunter. But it would be logical to make it an 8-mile race, so it's a little bit clearer, because I think people probably quickly look at it when they see the race and assume that it's an 8-mile race, but it isn't. It's 11.2, which is just a little bit too far for people that are probably more used to 10Ks, and if you're used to running half marathons, it's just too short. It just seems like a pointless distance. 10 mile maybe would be alright, but 11.2 just seems a little bit of a strange distance. But other than that, it was a fantastic race, really enjoyed it, crowds are great, and well done to Sleaford Striders for putting it on. Right, so into the shoe I tested, the Brooks Glycerin 20. Now this is an interesting one because normally when I do race test videos, or anyone on the Run Testers channel does a race test video, we focus on the latest race shoes and carbon plate shoes out there. But because I've been injured recently and I am still in recovery, I'm still being a little bit careful. I tore my calf last year and it's still not quite right, so I'm trying to take it easy, and I do have a problem when it comes to racing where I always want to go as fast as I can. It's just probably the same for most of you. So the reason why I wanted to try the Brooks Glycerin 20 over a race, one is because I wanted something that would probably slow me down a bit and not make me want to run really fast, which seems to be what causes my injury over the past few months. But also because I think this is an interesting shoe. We get a lot of people that comment when we do race shoe videos talking about the level of running that we do and how fast we run, and if there are better shoes for people that maybe aren't focused towards that speed side of things and just want something that's going to be comfortable and get them through the distance without desperately trying to get a PB. So the Glycerin 20 is a shoe that I have been looking forward to trying for a while. I was a massive fan of the previous two shoes. They're just fantastic, cushioned, comfortable trainers that are just great for easy day runs, but they also had a little bit more to them. You could run a little bit faster in them if you wanted to. They're not the most versatile shoe, but they're a good option if you want a cushion shoe that can just do a little bit more. It's just not a solid cushion shoe. So the Glycerin 20 is quite a big update to the previous Glycerins, largely due to this nitrogen infused midsole foam that sits in it. So I've been really interested to try out this shoe and see how it delivers on a race pace. So what I found in easy training runs with this shoe is that it is very comfortable, probably even surpasses the previous Brooks for me in terms of comfort and cushioning over those slower miles, which for me would probably be around 5-minute kilometres. I very rarely run in the shoe over 5-minute kilometres. If I'm doing tempo training or daily training miles and I want to go a little bit faster, I'll probably use another shoe for it. So I've been interested to see how this shoe delivers a race, because I've never raced in a Glycerin shoe before. I will always use one of my race shoes, just to see, one, how it would deliver at pace and if it could do the job, and to what level it could do that job, but also to see what it feels like a consistent pace over time. So what I found was that the Glycerin 20, it is not a shoe designed for fast running. It definitely doesn't feel conducive to running faster. That first few miles that I was running, there's just no real efficient turnover. It almost feels, when you're running at pace, that it's deadening the speed, especially if you're used to running in a faster shoe. So I did find it quite troublesome for the first few miles. It definitely slowed me down. I was probably running at about 40-minute kilometres, which for me is relatively slow in comparison to my race pace, which is about 4-minute kilometres. And I felt I couldn't go much faster in it. I was pretty limited to that pace, that 4:45, 4:40 pace. And I was struggling for the first half of the race to really sort of pick up pace. As I got used to it, and as it came into the later miles of the race, I did feel like I could run a little bit faster and more consistently. So I actually upped it to about 4:15-minute kilometres in the last few miles, and it actually felt surprisingly good when I got to that pace. But it took a lot of time for me to get into that fluid motion with the shoe. By the end of the race, I think it was fine. I would probably never use this if I was really trying to get a fast time, as you can probably imagine. But the interesting about it is that it seemed to get better over that momentum over the race. So as I continued to run at a pace, it worked quite well for that. And by the end of the race, it did feel quite good. Other than that, it did feel like a very comfortable shoe. I think the midsole's probably a little bit firmer than what I felt when I was doing the slow easy miles. At pace, that firmness you really notice it. It doesn't feel very cushioned. It sort of loses the softness that you get from the easy miles, and it generally just didn't feel like a very efficient shoe for running. There doesn't seem to be any sort of rocker smoothness to it. It's not in any way propelling you forward. As I said, it's almost deadening you when you're doing those faster miles. It's definitely not helping with trying to pick up the pace a bit. So yeah, I wouldn't say it's ever going to compete with a race shoe, but I did enjoy it. I think it's a good, solid shoe if you're looking to do a race distance, maybe you're doing a half marathon or a marathon. It will keep your feet comfortable. It feels very supportive. And by the end of the race, I certainly didn't mind wearing it, but I definitely wouldn't wear it if I was going for speed. So overall, a pretty successful test for the Glycerin 20 at race distance, especially if you're the sort of person that probably just wants comfort and cushioning over those race distances, as opposed to flat out speed and a lightweight option, because it's definitely not a light shoe. It's quite a chunky, hefty shoe, and I did notice that when I was running in it. Thanks a lot for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe and click the little bell icon, and check the channel out for all the other videos we've got from the latest road and trail shoes, as well as headphones and running watches out at the moment. Catch you later.